What a fabulous Friday we have, ladies and gentlemen. Just a day away from that FA Cup final. And also, Andy, after the FA Cup final is the main event. It's the Football Ramble at Cadogan Hall in London.
Yeah.
So exciting.
It's a brilliant warm-up act we have, Manchester City versus
well,
Crystal
yes,
Palace.
it could be crap.
Yeah, well, on paper.
Yeah.
on
Sometimes
paper.
are the FA Cups, aren't they?
Can be.
Can be. Last season's was interesting because of the team who won.
Yes.
Well, you say no.
Yes,
Wait, the blueprint is there for a mid-table team to win the FA Cup against Man City in the final.
Correct.
There we go.
There we are, you see. Manchester United are still the holders of the FA Cup. That will change tomorrow. With this game. Crystal Palace, of course, have played in a couple of FA Cup finals in their previous history, or history's previous, of course.
Has to be. Has to be.
And
Future history, my new album.
how can we learn from our future history? But both times they lost to Manchester United, Peter.
Yeah.
The current holders of the FA Cup. But this time they can't lose to them, but they can lose to their noisy neighbours.
Yeah, maybe they can have a little bit of more fun with Manchester City in the way that they've been playing recently.
Yeah.
We've tried to beat the red ones. Now let's try the blue ones.
Let's try the blue ones.
It's like
Blue
seeing
pill,
the
red pill.
Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like seeing the Matrix. Yeah.
It is a little bit like
Yeah.
that. Of course, Crystal Palace, they're on a decent run. They've only lost 2 of the last 15 matches. One of them was at the Etihad. And do you think, Andy, in that game, when they raced into that 2-0 lead, I believe it could have been 3 if my memory serves me
It could have. I think,
well.
Yeah.
Do you think Glasner went, hey,
Yeah.
we could play these?
You keep your powder dry, lads.
Right, we've felt them out. And
That's
now
exactly what's happened.
We
Well,
filled
because-
them up. Andy, did they fill them up? They filled them up under the table. And just like what they saw, we're not going to go the full way yet. We're not going to go third base yet. We're going to go third base on Saturday the 17th of May instead.
Andy, you going to answer that?
Yeah, answer the question, Andy. Stop stalling.
Andy, stop acting as if you haven't been doing much worse stuff on stage with us.
Which, if you want to see it, you're going to have to find out. Buy tickets.
Andy,
Saturday
you're in the gutter with Pete Donaldson. How does it feel?
The very bruised Pete Donaldson from
no,
all
you
of our
Yes.
rolling around on the
Yes.
stage.
Yeah, we should point that out, actually, Marcus. I think it's fair to point out the fact that Pete's role in Football Ramble Live has become so physical.
Yeah.
He is currently absolutely covered in bruises.
It's
You
like,
are
it's
like
like
a
I've been
stuntman.
it's like I've been playing a role in some kind of extreme wrestling match.
You're the mad stuntman. We're real to real, and he's the mad stuntman.
Yeah, you're like-
he likes to move it.
You're Tom Cruise's stuntman.
Yeah,
Because
I
as you
am
know,
absolutely covered in brown bruises.
well, as you know, I like to do my own stunts, but there are one or two. There are
Yeah.
one or two which
It rhymes with stunts.
we.
But until now, we should be talking about Andy Brassel answering that question.
Yes, back to you, Andy.
Did Crystal Palace or did they not feel up Man City in the Premier League game, which they lost 5-2 last month? And how do you think it's going to reflect on? Let me finish the question, Andy. And are you feeling a little bit out of sorts because you haven't had your green tea this morning? No, you can answer.
Secondly, definitely. Firstly, I'm not sure Oliver Glasner has quite that kind of foresight, even though he's done an excellent job
Well,
there.
after the game, Andy, he said of Pep Guardiola, he can't play this system again because we will beat it.
Which I love.
Ooh.
I love that.
Maybe there is a gauntlet thrown.
Get this man a green tea for crying out loud.
Is there any substance behind that? Because presumably there is, because he's got a good record in cup competitions, Glasner, right?
Yeah, he does.
They're going to bloody
And
win it.
I love that.
As well, you always feel that over the past 5 or 6 years, there have been really few teams that have regularly caused problems for Manchester City.
We go back to Andros Townsend's volley.
Oh, yeah.
lovely.
Let's
Please do.
replay it again and again and again.
Once again, Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson set the foundation here.
Exactly.
I can't remember if he was in charge or not, but I feel he should get the credit.
Let's not take the piss here. It was an owl overseeing a big flock of eagles.
Yeah.
It was delicious. It was bird of prey central. Wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel if Palace do manage to get this over the line, it feels like it would be an appropriate cap on Manchester City's season.
Yeah, I agree.
Although last season's FA Cup final, them losing that kind of came out of the blue a little bit. I'm not sure this would, but partly because of Palace's form, partly because of Manchester City's season. But I think if they're going into Europe, the only thing they could really do is go out and sign Juan Bernabé, right?
Yeah, now we're talking. That would be lovely.
Would it be lovely?
It would be lovely.
Would it?
Get a fascist in South London. It's happened in the council elections.
Yeah.
Not in South London, but elsewhere in the UK. You know,
Yeah, there's some space for fascists now, isn't there?
fits with the Eagle.
It certainly does. Yeah,
Could
he'll
work.
go wherever the eagle goes. I would
Don't look
say.
at me like that, Andy. You made me say that by bringing in Wan-Banabe.
Do you think the Palace
the big
fans,
fake cock?
Yeah, there you go. But a very real one as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think those Palace fans, if indeed all this bollocks happens, that wearing the black shirts in the front, they'd have to rethink that.
We started off talking about the FA Cup final, Pete,
Yeah.
and we've basically rapidly got into there's been a political takeover of the whole of South London.
There's been a shift.
Yeah, where I actually live,
Yeah.
like a stone's throw from Selhurst
With that
Park.
moustache, you could be Oswald Mosley.
Oh yeah,
say.
it's true.
Those arms are already getting ready to
Instead of
welcome
rivers
it.
of blood, the Thames water has
All right.
ruined you again.
That's enough.
Rivers of water.
I'll have to take him down from the inside, Pete. Won't
Right.
I?
That
Good
is
point.
it. That is enough.
Marcus, do you think that I can't tell in this match whether for Manchester City the pressure is off or the pressure is very much on because they need something to rescue their season. They're probably going to
Need a little token, don't they?
Need a
Little blue
token.
Peter badge,
They need a
don't
little
they?
blue Peter badge to sort of say this wasn't all for nothing.
Yeah.
We do have a Champions League qualification probably, but we are not in a position where we can just say this has been a successful season because they play some astonishingly bad football. But the pressure's kind of off because it's a nice day out. They're not playing Manchester United,
Yep.
which they have done the last couple of times they've been in the cup final. So can they just enjoy this one?
Can
Yeah.
they just enjoy it? I mean, it is only a nice day out if you win.
It's a good question. It's a good point about whether the pressure's on or off, because I would say because they've actually kind of rescued their league form quite well.
Yeah, they have. They're going to qualify for the Champions
Exactly.
League, which at one point looked.
But at the same time,
Relatively unlikely.
given the context of the Manchester City project, one FA Cup or perhaps even one FA Cup final, it'll still quite a meagre return, particularly given how much of a laughingstock they were for a portion of the season. People were saying it's over. People were saying there's no rescue in it. Yeah, you still think that? Fair enough. But Champions League qualification in the league has to be seen realistically as a minimum requirement for City.
No, I think they've done well to turn it round.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, okay, so they got so low, so turning it round was never going to be winning the league, especially with what Liverpool did. That had gone.
Yeah.
So what was left of the season? They've dumped out of the Champions League. What's left of the season is, qualify for the Champions League, which wasn't a given. And it's still possible, I think mathematically possible that they might not do it, but I think they will. I think we will agree with that.
Yeah.
And if you can add an FA Cup in, I think that makes it a very respectable season. But as Guardiola said, it's not the season they would have wanted. It's not because you
respectable end of season.
Yeah, because it's not four. You know, the fact is they've won 4 Premier League titles. You think, okay, well, therefore, if you don't win the 5th, then it's kind of like a bit of a poor season or whatever. At some point, you're not going to win a Premier League title. So to give them a bit of credit, they have managed to swing it back round. I think if they do win the FA Cup, by and large, all things considered, decent season.
I am 100% certain that Manchester City will win this match comfortably.
100%.
You're welcome, Palace fans.
Yeah, there you go.
You're welcome. What could happen is Pep could suddenly decide to just change things up, fuck it up, and Palace could beat them with pace and on the counter attack.
A return to the old overthinking Pep.
Yeah,
that'd be lovely.
What do you reckon that'd be the appropriate send off for Kevin De Bruyne? Play him at left back.
I think it'd be the appropriate send off for Pep Guardiola himself, just to leave, because we're still waiting for a verdict. Everyone, we'll remind everyone of that. We've waited. I think we've waited long enough.
I think we have too.
Come on,
yeah.
If those in charge, because we have waited long enough, do it on the morning of the game.
Yeah.
Come on, do the right thing.
Glass smashes, lawyers just come down
Part
the
of
touchline.
ITV's FA Cup coverage.
Yeah. Should be your last game against a Premier League side for a while.
Yeah, little moped delivering a letter.
Yeah. What's happening?
Going up Wembley Way.
What? They work on a Saturday? Oh, you're joking.
That's Clifford Chance's music.
I do think Palace have got a chance, and weirdly enough, because obviously they've got a chance because they're in a final and they're a pretty good team on their day, but I know they lost 5-2 to Palace at the Etihad. They had a bit of a wobble, didn't they? Because they got whooped by Pete Donaldson's Newcastle United around that time as well.
Yeah, the game after.
Yeah, but they did show something in that game. Like, what was really interesting about that game from what I remember is that we were still kind of in that phase where the Palace went 2 up. You're right to say they should have gone 3 up. I think it was, from memory, it was a narrow offside decision which ruled out a goal or something to make it 3. It was Eze, I think, or you missed the chance or something like that. If they had gone 3, everyone would have been, it's happening again to Man City. Like they've fallen off again. What's going on?
That's right, yeah.
They showed incredible heart to turn it around and do the business. But it can't be forgotten that for a good portion, probably first 20, 25 minutes of that game, from what I remember, Palace were much better. They blitzed them.
They were. They showed what they could do.
And in the cup final, Andy, you go 2 up or even 3 up early on. what do the statistics tell you? Well, you know what they tell you. It's very, very rare for any team to come back from
Just
2
ask
goals
Steve
anyway.
Bruce's Hull.
There we well, exactly.
First thing I
nice
thought
mention,
of, actually.
Nice mention, actually, for Brucey.
Yeah.
He gets a mention in the live show, not like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I think it's a really nicely, evenly matched, quite poised final. And I do think there's something in the Glasner thing. There's something in that Glasner quote, the fact that he's won cup competitions with unfancied teams before.
His work at Eintracht Frankfurt was stunning.
Exactly. So I think what we don't want is what can sometimes happen in these eagerly anticipated games is like an early Man City goal. That'll be crap.
Yeah.
That'll be crap.
Both teams aren't absolutely beset by injuries as well. But, I think Man City have obviously got a full team to pick from. Wharton might be out, might be playing.
That'd be a shame if Wharton's out. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Massive shame. Did you see that footage of him and doing the old half-time stuff?
Oh, yeah.
12-year-old player. Was he at Birmingham City, I want to say?
He was
Blackburn.
Rovers.
But he was 12. I mean, I know that he played for Blackburn. I'm just saying back then.
Oh, I see,
he had some kind of shirt on.
Good little Neville Southall there.
And he's
well done.
And he was doing bits. Absolutely. He was 12, not 13. So, and it doesn't count.
No. No.
See, Ronaldo just played for the Portugal under 15s, was it? Ronaldo's son, rather.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Ronaldo, I wouldn't put it past the actor Ronaldo. You're allowed 2 overage players, so I'll be playing.
Going back to Palace, though, I think that there are... we know what Palace are like. When it clicks, which it has been in this FA Cup, they are so well drilled.
Yeah.
It is genuinely a joy to watch them. As I say, I saw them batter my team, Fulham, in the quarterfinal. Then you saw what they did to Villa in the semi-final, and they'll be thinking more of the same. Man City know what's going to happen. You know, they know what Palace are going to do. It's can they deal with it? Now, obviously, you mentioned the game at the Etihad. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that kind of thing. Eze is in magnificent form. We know what a match winner he can be and produce something out of nothing. And at right back, Man City are a little bit weak, you might say.
Yep.
But there's an area that they could exploit, although obviously be drifted inside. But I think the way Glasner has got the emotional side of it right in the FA Cup as well. They are keenly aware.
They were excellent against Villa.
Yeah,
excellent.
There was absolutely no one shrank. They all grew an extra few inches.
Good point.
On the big stage. And I think he is acutely aware, having just played them, what they've got to do, how they've got to set up, and again the emotional side of it. They've got a great fan base, and they've shown that throughout this competition. At Wembley, they're going to make an awful amount of noise. And you've got to remember, Man City fans are used to going to Wembley because they've been so good.
So, I think that is a factor.
They haven't run the shifter tickets. They haven't run the shifter.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a much bigger deal for Palace.
And I'm not criticising Man City fans. I understand it costs a lot of money and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember last year.
Yeah, you do get used to it.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's inevitable. Whereas for Palace, it is something special. And
feels a bit Newcastle 2 years ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they feel like Newcastle this year.
But maybe.
Cup,
I was going to say, because they've done the semi-final at Wembley, I know that's criticised a lot,
right.
but actually maybe that kind of helps them as well.
I think
and also, they've had the ultimate warm-up in going to Spurs last weekend, where you get the feeling of playing really well and winning at a big club, even though Spurs are completely checked out for the season. So, you get that feeling of, God, we're really good, aren't we? We're so good.
They've got one of the best fullbacks in the league as well, and Daniel Munoz as well. It's not Munoz, is it? Because it doesn't have a tilde over the end.
It does.
Munoz,
it does have a tilde.
Does it?
Yeah.
They might run out of them in the Palace Club shop. But it does.
Every time I see his name, it's never got tilde over the top.
Well,
Munoz, I'd like to apologise to you, but not the BBC website.
No, don't apologise to the BBC website. No,
rubbish.
Make an example of their disrespectful typewriters.
If he's given even... Let's be generous. 1/10 of the room that he was given against Spurs, he will have an absolutely lovely time.
I love the idea.
It was a disgrace.
It's worth pointing out. It's worth pointing out, right? That Daniel Munoz can go to Spurs, do that, and the Spurs players basically just like, meh.
If the four of us formed the back four, right, take him on, we wouldn't give him that much room.
And Ange Postecoglou will take absolutely zero criticism. He's like, well, look, mate, if you don't know why that's happened, I can't help you. He's like, well, no, tell us why it's happened. It's your fucking job.
No, I think he is just struggling. I think he's like, well, if you can't tell us, then I'm struggling. Can anybody tell us?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
It's like when the Pilgrims went to the Midwest of the United States. You put your spade in the ground,
Yeah.
you can have 1,000 acres.
That's it.
Daniel
That
Munoz
was-
put his fucking spade in the ground at Spurs and had the whole run of the place.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It
So I
was-
hope he does that again because I'd like Palace to win it.
Yes, I
Me
think that
too.
it would. I mean, yeah. Surely everyone's going. I mean, especially now Fulham aren't probably going to finish 8th. Yeah, I'd love Palace to win it.
Yeah.
I'd like Palace to win it and Brentford to finish 8th.
Okay, right, yeah.
I can't wait to watch this match with you lads backstage at the Cadogan Hall.
At the Cadogan Hall, yeah.
It's gonna
Or
be-
Cadogan Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
There's a tilde on
There's a
the
tilde
end,
on the
so
D.
It's actually it's
Cadogan.
It's Cadagunya.
Cadogan.
Cadagunya
Yeah.
Hall.
Is that what it
We're
is?
gonna get you.
Yeah.
Are we all crowding around your hooky iPad, are we, Pete?
Yeah.
An iPad will be.
That doesn't have to be hooky. It'd be on
That'd be hooky.
The game's
on
literally on
BBC.
terrestrial television, Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the fun in that?
Oh, Andy wants to be a Portuguese commentary, doesn't he? He wants to be a
Andy.
Portuguese commentary. That's what it is. Yeah.
You sausage. Right then. Now, how about this? Palace defender Joel Ward will leave the club at the end of the season after 13
Yeah.
years with them.
Bittersweet for me, this.
Yeah, he's
given
played
that,
over 300 games.
Yeah, 305 Premier League games for them. Pompey sold him
Club
to
record.
Palace
Yep.
for 400 grand.
Good business.
So, great.
Good
It
business.
annoys me because he's probably not going to get in the Hall of Fame for the Jack's Encyclopedia questions. So,
Oh,
he's not been there
okay.
long enough.
No, fair enough.
Could have
yeah.
stuck around, couldn't he? Could have
Makes
stuck
sense.
Is he
around.
fit enough to come back for a season at Pompey?
Well, I think, but
Through the
from
Matt Ritchie route?
I'd love that. I would love that.
Oh, yeah.
From memory, he's an Emsworth boy, so he's from kind of Havant area, so he is genuinely a Pompey lad. I think, I haven't done my research on this, I'll be totally honest with you, but I think Pompey may have had to sell him because of the situation they're in. I think he went about 2012.
Right.
There was a fire sale, they had to sell. So 400 grand was probably worth a lot to Portsmouth at that point, but for 305 Premier League games,
Yeah.
that's got to be one of the best signings Palace have ever made.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Coming up after this, we bid farewell to one of the most iconic stadiums in the Premier League.
Got major problems with it. For me, looking at that video, that cat hadn't done anything wrong.
Welcome back to Football Ramble, everybody. Yes, that's right. After 132 years of service and more top-flight games than any stadium in England,
That's incredible.
how about that? Everton men's team will play their final game at Goodison Park on Sunday. Of course, they will be playing at their new fancy 53,000-seater stadium at Bramley-Moore Dock from next season,
Wild.
which looks great, by the way.
It does.
It
look
looks
great.
fabulous.
Yeah, beautiful.
I never went to Goodison Park. I've never been there.
I've been there, but I've not seen a game there.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't have it on your list then.
No, I won't. I'm not claiming it. I'm not claiming it.
yeah.
Oi.
So I'm very strict with the ground list.
Is that right?
Let's
Okay.
see the
Very.
list. Let's see the list. Let's make sure we've crossed it
Like,
off.
so, for example, I don't have Panathinaikos in mind.
Here we go. What?
Because I went to a Panathinaikos Olympiakos game
Yeah.
where all the crowd were in
Right.
and it was abandoned half an hour after the kickoff time because
You chucked something
when
in it.
they went on
Got
the
your banner
pitch
out.
for the Padabout Olympiakos, one of their players, I think it was Finn Bogerson, got hit in the back of the calf by a flare fired by a Panathinaikos fan. They've been on the pitch for the Padabout, not even the warm up for like 10 seconds.
And they took everyone off, and,
And
then
they
that doesn't
took
count
everyone
as
off.
your-
They spent the next hour and a half arguing with Panathinaikos and the Greek Premier League, saying, "Yeah, there's no way we're going back out there."
Is that when the owner came on with a gun?
No,
That was
That's
Pauk.
Pauk, that's right.
But
yeah.
it was funny. I remember, like I said, it was like half an hour after the scheduled kickoff, and this guy turned around to me and said, "Are you English?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You're going to see all hell break loose in about 2 minutes' time." And there was this announcement in Greek saying the game was abandoned, and then the police and the ultras got stuck into each other.
Wow.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
But yeah, I can't have it on my list.
a lot
Yeah,
of
not on your
groundhoppers.
list.
A lot of groundhoppers have certain rules about how they count things. Like some of them say you have to see the kickoff. Some of them say you have to put a program. There's lots of different stuff.
See the
going on.
kickoff. I've never seen a kickoff in my life. I'm always late.
Yeah, just see. I'd say
So I've never seen anything at the Etihad apart from Coldplay and churches.
Oh right.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Poor that, innit?
Vitality in Villa Park for me.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
I was there.
Interesting.
Villa
Yeah,
Park
we've been
with
to the
you.
pub without seeing a game.
Well, look,
anyway.
back to Everton versus Southampton. Lovely that they've got the Southampton voucher for this one.
Oh yeah. What a stadium though.
What
eh?
a stadium! I mean, it's the stadium where Dixie Dean broke the single-season goals record in 1928. Apparently, a fan ran on and kissed the centre forward after he scored his 60th goal of the 1927-28
Nice little bonus. It was
season.
pre-COVID, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, it was. It very much was. Pele became the first player to score in 3 successive World Cup tournaments when he scored against Bulgaria in the 1966 World Cup.
Huge part of the 66 World Cup.
And obviously, Eusebio, Portugal legend, said it was the best stadium in my playing life. How about that? Wayne Rooney, he started off there. And you remember that bloke who chained himself to the goalpost that time?
There we go.
You see?
That's the lineage, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Pele, Eusebio.
No, Dixie Dean.
Dixie Dean, Pele, Eusebio.
Yeah, Pele and Eusebio right next to each other. There.
Yeah, Andrei Kanchelskis standing on the ball.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney.
Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah, Duncan Ferguson. And
Wayne
then
Rooney.
the bloke trying to snip the...
Yeah.
But it's,
I can't remember if that was before or after Rooney, but you get the picture.
It's
Campbell.
It's a funny thing because when you look at Goodison, and I was last there in August for a game,
Ooh.
and you just I first went there probably when I was about 13, 14, and it has just got such a presence to it. Now, part of that is the atmosphere created by the fans, but part of that is them reacting to the surroundings as well. And it's always been very chocolate boxy, even post redevelopment in the 90s. Very, very steep stands. I remember the first time I went to an away game at Goodison, and I felt like I was going to fall on the pitch because you're so steep and high up. And I think that really affects it. And I think if you talk about, the atmospheres they create now, but also the reactions of Eusebio and all that, it's quite interesting because, as I've said, it's sort of falling to bits nowadays, to be honest.
Yeah.
Before Everton women go in there, it needs a bit of a spruce up, I think it's
Which it is going to get.
Yeah, because the club have abandoned plans to demolish the stadium, and it, as you say, it will be the home of Everton women.
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
It's so good all round.
It's really good.
Do you not think, Andy, though, that knowing how the women's game is frequently get treated by Premier League sides, do you not think that the cost of maintenance over a set of years means that this might be quite a short-term agreement?
Are you suggesting
No,
that
I
Everton, the stereotypical Everton owner is not that good with money?
No, just general Premier League sides have just treated their women's sides over the years. I mean, obviously it's got a lot better, but I just sort of think these kind of these announcements, and you get a couple of good seasons there, and then suddenly when it starts to get more expensive to keep a crumbling stadium going, which is obviously more expensive than keeping.
It's unlike you to put a negative spin on it, Pete. And you should also remember that for all the freaking group's faults, they have overseen a pretty successful women's football team in Roma, right?
And they spend money
and
as
they've
well.
invested quite a lot in them. So I also think they might be
keep my
seeing
powder dry then.
It might just be the direction of travel they anticipate the women's game going in anyway.
And I think that it's the historical importance of it. They're almost like, as custodians, they're almost obliged to keep it up and keep it in decent condition as a sort of historical monument. But what I was saying about the steepness of it and how it creates atmosphere, I think is really interesting because if you look at different stadiums all over the world, the blueprint for stadiums, of course, it changes every decade, and new stadiums take, best case scenarios from other places. You look at how the Spurs stadium was designed with a bit of Dortmund in mind, for example, and I look at that now, and Spanish clubs, for example, are working at the moment, a lot of them that have got space between the pitch and the stands to bring the stands in. Mallorca have done it recently, Real Sociedad, Celta Vigo are doing it at the moment. And I love the fact how all these years later, like you say, Goodison's been going for 130 years, and everyone's now looking at it going, yeah, that's the way to do it.
Really?
Which I think is really interesting.
Let me make a few points. I just remembered that Andrei Kanchelskis standing on the ball was Rangers, wasn't it? Not at Everton.
Oh, yeah.
But he did play for Everton, so it kind of counts.
The blue shirt.
It doesn't count, though.
Okay, fine, doesn't count. Fair enough. At this point, Everton fans will already have been screaming at me in the YouTube comments before I make the adjustment anyway, the correction anyway.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a couple of points. One is that I think it's really, really good that Goodison Park is remaining and is being filled by the women's team, and I wish them success there. But the main reason I'm really supportive of it is because I think we're pretty crap these days in this country at protecting historical landmarks. And over again, it seems to me that everyone is pretty ready to kind of ignore the history around certain buildings. I'm thinking about the famous BBC building, which is basically just completely fucking decimated, despite it having amazing history in it.
Yep.
Admiralty Arch is another one. Credible history at the bottom of the Mall. And it's now being turned into some fucking hotel and apartment complex for rich people. And I think if Goodison Park would have been demolished, I think that would have been an absolute stain on our respect for history, given all the things that you've said and all the other things that we haven't said besides. Incredibly important part of that area, incredibly important part of the country's biggest sport, and it should be protected in some kind of way, and I'm pleased it's actually going to be put to use. The final thing I'd say is that this is probably quite trepidatious for Everton fans going into next season, right? Because of all the things we talked about, that Andy's talked about there about Goodison Park. It is a bear pit on its day. It's really, really difficult place to go. I remember I've seen loads of referees saying without question, like the hardest place to referee a game in the Premier League is at Goodison Park, because the fans are absolutely voracious with their appetite for kind of giving their team an advantage. And of course, we've seen a blueprint before when teams have moved from beloved grounds like the Bowling Ground, for example, at West Ham. And
Moyes oversaw that, did he?
It's been tricky. Moyes,
I can't remember.
I don't think Moyes oversaw it. That would be unfair on him.
No.
Yeah.
With a hard hat and a clipboard.
Of course, I can't picture him like that.
We don't want to go. You're going.
There's a key difference, obviously, because this is
That
a
forward
purpose-built.
deserves a slap.
This is a purpose-built football stadium, so rather than a kind of box job. But then nonetheless, something is going to be lost going into next season, and it's going to be a challenge for Moyes and for that Everton team to really hit the ground running and start to make some new memories in this new stadium. And if they lose that intimidation, fear factor at Goodison, then it could be tougher.
I think that's it. Whenever you move stadiums, it's all about maintaining the atmosphere by making sure that everyone knows where everyone else is. You need to be sitting with the people around you that you've been sitting around for years. Now, the funny thing is
that's what Jim Ratcliffe first said that, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. How you can have a season ticket and you can know all the people around you. You probably don't know any of their names or see them in their everyday life. So maintaining that atmosphere is difficult. And what you need early on is a few big moments, don't you? Now, if you think, like when, say, Spurs moved stadium, they had that Champions League run, or when Porto moved stadium, they won the Champions League, having moved midway through the season under Mourinho. So, talking of hard hats and clipboards. So, I think it's working out how they're going to hit those moments next season. And so when David Moyes is talking about them maybe having a big summer in the transfer market, I suspect it's with that in mind.
And it's good that... sorry, Peter.
I was going to jump in. How many... I don't think there's many stadiums in the UK that are like even Grade 2 listed. I know Arsenal's stand with the marble halls, that had to remain.
Oh, right.
So that's why
that's
still
right, because it was listed, yeah.
But there's no... I don't think there's any other stadiums that it should be... I think, Goodison have got a very good shout of should be listed.
I know what you mean.
Grade 2 listed.
I know
There's
what you're
enough room for everyone.
But it doesn't stop anything, because the Admiralty Arch was listed. Still approved it.
You can still, as long as you keep the shell, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The
no, I just
BBC
want to
building,
keep the
BBC
show.
building was the worst one, because that's like, you think of that movie, The King's Speech, and that kind of stuff. All these amazing things happened there, and they just had no reverence for it whatsoever. Probably aren't being undermined by whichever shitbag Tory government was in charge at the time. I can't remember, but
probably quite a lot of asbestos.
Well, maybe that's a factor as well.
There's certainly this. I can't remember if it's the stand or just the Cottage Pavilion at Craven Cottage, but that's Grade 2 listed.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. I can't remember if it's the main stand along Stephen Drew. But anyway,
Or just a bit of it.
Anyway,
Get a pool on it.
yeah, but I think that's the other.
Flood it.
Yeah.
That's the other stand.
Flood it, he
Stand.
says.
Flood it. With well wishes and goodwill.
Yeah, nice.
Knob. I think it is good that David Moyes is in charge, though,
Yeah,
for this, because
Yeah.
there's the
he's a custodian,
a custodian,
Yeah.
a very, very important
very
figure.
angry custodian.
Very angry custodian, and I think that gives a little bit of continuity. So who else would you rather see into the new stadium? So in charge. Coming up after this, Ruben Amorim versus Todd Bowley. Gentlemen, there's a huge one. Is it huge? I suppose that's what we've got to go on.
Is it huge?
In the Premier League?
Marcus,
Arsenal,
in this studio, every game at football is huge.
yes, exactly. And this one is no exception. It's a huge, huge match between Arsenal and Pete Donson's Newcastle United.
It is.
Are you worried that Kai Havertz has been training this week?
No. Not worried
Who
at all.
could be worried about that? You wouldn't be worried about that, would you, Peter? You'd be very pleased for him, even though they're playing your team.
I imagine Sven's Botman is completely unsullied by the thought.
What about Big Dan Burn?
Well, Big Dan, but well,
I'll have him for breakfast.
There's green back to the Premier League, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Tell me which hamstring it was.
Of course, this is a big one in the context of the race for the Champions League.
I think they're going to do it.
Who?
Newcastle.
Both of them?
I think Newcastle are going to climb over them.
Do you think Newcastle? I mean, finishing second.
Well, they're going to climb over them for this weekend.
Oh, okay. Be harking back to the days of Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah,
with a second place finish.
Yeah, that was momentum more than anything he did. One would say.
Yeah, okay.
So this would be Arsenal emulating Spurs and finishing third in a 2-horse race.
It was never a 2-horse race, Andy.
Yeah.
No.
1-horse race. Yeah, I mean, Pete, you glossed over that, but it would be the first time that they finished second in the Premier League since 1997.
Yeah.
So you've basically dismissed that and slagged off the manager that did it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just double checking that for people who didn't
Because
pick up
I
the
still
first
remember
time.
Ian Rush playing for us and John Barnes. Yeah.
They made their contribution.
They did make their contribution.
Nice to see them in the shirts.
Nice
is
to
all we
see
can say.
them in the shirts.
I like that when someone paints himself into a corner, usually it's like for necessity.
Yeah.
No.
Pete's that.
I've
particularly
set
that
up
reason.
shop there.
He covers himself
I've
in
got a little
excrement.
teepee in the corner. Little yurt in the corner of it.
Well, it is a big one. I mean, Arsenal, like I say, I think if they... I don't think any Arsenal fans would lose much sleep if they finished third rather than second. However, I think it would be, from the club's point of view, if they were to finish third or even fourth, I think that would look a bit...
Shit.
Yeah.
I think
it would.
The reality is their season has petered out. Right?
Yes, of course.
And if you finish second for however
Don't
many
like that
seasons in
term.
a row, that's fine. Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge one, but I think it is worth finishing second.
It would be irritating rather than change the direction or destiny of the club. I
Exactly.
think it is
But they
fair to say.
haven't won a game for a month.
Yeah.
No, but they know they've got work to do in the summer regardless. So them winning this game or not makes absolutely no difference.
Yes,
Well,
well,
it sends a message to the people who have got the purse strings to spend a bit of money up top
Well, it
and
does,
probably
yeah.
in midfield as well.
I
Are
think
you encouraging them to play badly and lose this game?
Yes, I am.
I think it'll be
Nice.
it'll be
Nice.
very keenly contested. One of the things, though, they've got to do in the summer is put a new contract offer in front of Thomas Partey, because his contract is set to expire on the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Barcelona and his old club, Atletico Madrid, have expressed interest in signing him, but reports say Partey would like to stay at the club. So
not-
Atletico
not-
want him
not-
to go.
Yeah, not a dangle I'm going to be chomping on, but he is a very unique footballer with very unique injury problems at this moment in time. He does have a lot of La Liga experience, but they don't have a lot of cover. Who've they got? Rice, Marino.
They've
in
been
there?
very reliant on him, haven't they? They've been very reliant
But
on
I
him.
think the problem is clearly that a part of the reason they haven't re-upped him yet is because they've decided they need to improve in that position. The development of Declan Rice means that they've got to really go for a holder this summer, which will probably be Zubamendi. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, if you're keeping him about as a squad guy, how much are you prepared to pay a guy who's going to ride the bench? Really, that's the question.
Or
And
the injury table.
Yeah, and you're right, Pete. I think
So you think
it's-
Arsenal may say, you know what, all things considered, it wouldn't be... Because Zubamendi is looking like he's going to go there.
Yes, but look, I think it's not open and shut whether Arsenal keep him. That's for sure. And I think those other places that he's been linked to, and yes, we know he's got La Liga experience, but I think Pete's right. You look at A, the injury record, and B, those other ones. Atletico are stacked in midfield at the moment. Why would you get him when you've got like Conor Gallagher and all the other midfield talent that they've had?
A different type of
And he's-
player, though, and Gallagher doesn't start much.
Yeah, but he's exactly because they've got loads of midfield players. Thomas Partey is not going to go there and walk into that team, even if he is fit. And quite frankly, he's not technically good enough for Barcelona.
So where's he going to go then, Andy?
It's a good question.
I don't
good
care.
question.
There could be some other reasons why he's not been offered a new contract as well.
Possibly.
Probably some other reasons why that some Arsenal fans wouldn't be too sad to see him depart the club.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that there.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
But I think on the strengthening side of things, it is kind of shit or bust time really for Arteta and us. Been there a while, building things up, doing well, second in the league. Well, it's getting to the point where
Talk me through shit or bust.
well, because maybe that's too harsh. Phrase it a slightly different way, but in the form of a question to you guys. Then, right? Arteta has done an amazing job at essentially vanquishing the ghost of Arsene Wenger. Right? That's the main achievement you would say philosophically that he's achieved. That doesn't last forever.
No.
You can't be the guy who gets rid of Arsene Wenger forever.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that looks bad is that It's kind of multifaceted, but they come second to Man City. Everyone can have their own opinion about Man City. Hopefully, at some point, we'll see what the situation is going to be, and if it's found that Manchester City have been guilty of these breaches and they're going to be punished, Arsenal fans and the club itself can have reasonable grounds to be annoyed about that, right? Then they come second
And
again.
maybe a slightly fuller trophy cabinet.
Well, fine, but then they come second or even third again to a different team with the manager just come in and done it, right? And
That's the problem. This season is quite a difficult sell because
Yeah.
you've positioned yourself to be the team ready to receive when Manchester City fall off their perch, and then you haven't managed to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But I think really we're looking at a big departure this summer, not least because Andrea Berta has come in. Now, I know people say new sporting director, new direction, but it's a massive change of direction because the way the structure of the club has changed in recent years is that Arteta has had more and more power. And he's become a little bit like Arsene Wenger, a little bit like an old school manager rather than just a head coach. Now, from a recruitment standpoint,
I think that's
this season tells you that hasn't worked.
It's the recruitment's been the problem.
Yeah,
That's where it is.
But it is the recruitment, but it's also what Andy's saying, which is not in competition with your
Yes,
point.
of course, yeah.
Is that Arteta? You look at the club of
totally
characters.
complicit. in
He
that.
wants to do all. He wants to do all of it all the time.
And you can't. We know now at big clubs you can't do that.
And you need a different voice
But his-
to stand up to him.
And that's why they got lovely Berta in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we think he's a dream. But a few months ago, I remember sitting here saying, Arsenal just got to keep their powder dry, strengthen a little bit here and there, and they'll be in great shape. And the reason I thought they'd be in great shape is because Liverpool had three things hanging over their heads: Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah. They've kept two of them now. Two of the most important players, probably. So that makes it a bit different. We were thinking, Manchester City are a bust now, right? We don't know what's happening in Man City. Newcastle have shown themselves to be resurgent. If they can continue improving, it's going to be a challenge. So there is actually a bit more competition at the top of the league than perhaps I was expecting a few months ago for next season.
A lot.
What would you think if Newcastle won the league next season and Arsenal finished second?
No, Arsenal was second all season and finished third in the final day.
There you go.
Yeah,
Fine. This summer they can't be pissing around now. They've got to go for it.
This is a massive game because Arsenal have been in rotten form. They've not won a game for a long time. Newcastle have got the bit between their teeth, and Newcastle have got a little prize. They're coming second for them for the first time in whatever it be, 30 years almost.
You've got to make sure a Champions League first.
It's just I think if Newcastle manage to finish second, that will feel like real progress because it will be progress. And winning the League Cup, you've obviously got that trophy. You finish second, you'd be turning around to the board if you're Eddie Howe and all the rest of it going, look at that. There's only one team better than us.
The feeling is of enormous optimism at the moment.
Absolutely.
And they're probably ready for their biggest transfer window in a couple of years.
Exactly, Andy. Exactly. And how, does this bode well as well? Because former Newcastle United boss, John Carver, has been shortlisted for Manager of the Year in the Polish top flight.
What a lovely story.
Yeah.
Are you saying it bodes well because he's no longer at Newcastle?
I mean,
I would agree.
I mean, he's kind of been quite underwhelming in his sort of head man managerial career so far. But I mean, it seems like he's had a good month. With a team who's nicked him out of the concrete.
Is that right?
So I mean, that's apparently so. I mean, that's very much up his street. He's a concrete man, isn't he?
What a lot of people don't realise about John Carver, he was actually one of the pilgrims who made the Mayflower voyage in 1620, which resulted in the creation of Plymouth Colony in America. Credited with writing the Mayflower Compact and was its first signer, and was the first one of the first governors in the United States in 1620.
Yeah.
So
every time I've heard
no one mentions that,
was
do they?
Was that before or after he had that fight with Craig Bellamy about the last parking space at the airport?
It's just after I saw him cycling down the Thames on a bike with two plastic bags on the handlebars.
Yeah. And now he's in Gdansk doing wonderful things. I say wonderful things. I mean, he took over in December, and they were 9 points from safety. Now they're 14th and assured of safety. So he's done a great job.
He's done a great job. But genuinely, when you Google the name John Carver, the first thing you get is what I just mentioned. The second one you get is John Carver as a fictional serial killer from Eli Roth's 2023 film Thanksgiving. And then John Carver the manager. So he needs to boost his SEO, is what I'm saying.
He's in the top three, and I think if he can look, and we're talking about big summers. It's a huge summer for Lechia Gdansk. Back him.
Yeah.
See what you can do. Let's get him up to at least second.
Give Carver his coins
in the Google
Yeah, I agree.
in the Google rankings.
Pete, perhaps you could do some consulting with him about how to boost his SEO ranking.
I think
Yeah.
yeah. Something that-
Couple of nudes, couple of tasteful nudes, some boudoir shots.
Yeah.
Let's break the internet, Carvey.
Yeah.
There we are,
Yeah.
carving it up. Tonight we've got a little Premier League bonus. Chelsea at home. to
Friday
Manchester
Frill?
United.
Friday Frill, does that work?
It's a fabulous Friday, a fantastic Friday.
Feeler.
Friday feeler.
Friday feel up.
Yeah, well, of course, you look at this, surely there's goals.
It's funny because
Chelsea.
because well, apparently not, because they missed so many chances. But you know, it's funny, isn't it, how we've got to the stage just a few short years after these teams have been totally dominant, you know, competing in the Champions League final, that kind of stuff.
This would have been a Sunday afternoon,
This
2
is just
p.m.
being
sort of match. shouldn't it?
dusted in on a Friday night. No one's going to notice.
Do you know what,
Yeah.
though? It's ideal, isn't it, for Chelsea? Because, you know, fifth, the Champions League is still in their hands. And to get Man United, right, who have been poor all season in the Premier League, but to get them just a handful of games before that Europa League final,
Yeah.
to hand them the points now.
What
Yeah.
was
I reckon, Andy, be honest, if the Premier League went to Amorim and the boys and said, we'll give you a 2-0 loss now, you don't have to turn up everything, bite both of your hands off.
Ratcliffe would be thinking about the travel expenses being saved.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
I reckon-
Especially
I
on a
reckon
Friday night,
reckon
London's very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-0 loss, they'd probably take it. 4-0, they'd maybe think.
What was I saying before about Palace getting the illusion of beating a really big club?
Yes.
That's what Chelsea are going to get
Is that right?
later today, I think. It's still going to be a lovely feeling for them beating Manchester United, but by goodness, they're going to do it.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely remarkable that we're sitting here in May, and Man United are about to play their 37th Premier League game of the season. They've got 39 points. I mean, it's wild.
It is.
It is
It
wild.
is
Incredible.
absolutely
The worst.
It is absolutely crazy. Now, we spoke yesterday about Man United players only being offered 2 complimentary tickets for friends and family. Some more details have emerged. So those who are given the complimentary tickets, they will be offered seats on a charter flight that arrives not in Bilbao, which I understand does have an airport, but so does Santander, 60 miles away.
They've been easy jetted.
They'll get there. They'll get there on the morning of the game. They won't be able to join in any celebrations should Manchester United win because the return flight leaves Santander at 2:15 a.m. after the game.
Brilliant.
What's the
Brilliant.
what's the transport like in the area?
Yeah,
the local cabs are going to do well out of that
Yeah.
one.
Well, they're just sort of saying, right, we have to have a night flight and we have to go somewhere that allows night flights.
Yes,
Amazing.
it is piss,
Amazing.
It's piss poor.
It is piss poor.
Is it piss
It's not
poor,
even
or is
piss.
it- or
The
is it-
piss is the weakest piss that's ever pissed.
If it was a 2:15 flight back from Bilbao, I get that.
Yeah, that's fine.
I understand
Couple of hours
that.
of partying,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
on the flight.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
How are you going to defend? Are you
We-
gearing up
I'm
to
not-
defend
no, I was
We
actually-
spent 11 hours getting back from Glasgow a couple of days ago.
We did.
Now, and
Are you saying Sir Jim Ratcliffe was behind that?
this is more arduous than that.
You're
I would
saying Sir
say.
Jim Ratcliffe put us on a super off-peak saver?
I wouldn't go.
No.
I wouldn't go.
Are we at the point now where Man United fans start sort of looking at him and thinking, maybe Mike Ashley would be a little bit more generous?
It is. I mean, I know I keep saying it, and it's probably quite boring to hear, particularly if you're a Man United fan. But it is astonishing how I've got a little, not a massive amount, but a little bit of insight into how the media works. Right, I just find it continually astonishing that a club this size, backed up by a man with that amount of money, is so poor on the PR stuff. Like,
Exactly. The savings are negligible to the bad publicity it generates.
The thing that undermines any idea, any notion that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is ever going to do a good job at Man United is that he can't even control the basic amount of PR that you need to. But I mean, tell me the last time, be honest, we cover this particular issue forensically. Tell me the last time you read a positive Man United story in the press.
The weird thing
it's
is,
not happened.
When they beat
it comes
Athletic
in.
3-0 away from home.
You don't even, they don't even make any hay off that.
Somebody underwhelming got a new contract recently, I think, wasn't it?
But that's not. I mean, that's not.
I know.
I know what you're saying.
It comes in, and everybody is so fed up after 20 years of the Glazers that they're prepared to overlook all the dreadful stuff about him, and yet he just can't get out of his own way.
No, he can't. And I think a press, a PR company, a press officer, whatever role you want to call it, and however they're doing it, in-house PR, whatever, their only role is to limit bad press and to boost good press.
So basically, you're saying he's got John Terry's agent.
Well, no, I mean, I've not. Do you know what I think's happening? One of the first things he's done, coming from the background he's come from, is he said, that PR shit there's a waste of money, and we're not doing it. And now what's happened?
That's it.
Probably.
Their worldwide reputation off the back of this stupid shit is going through the floor.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at some of the stuff, I mean, you got it here, just read it now. Yeah, Ruben Amorim's given nearly 500 TV interviews since joining Man United, which are all reportedly contractual obligations. So they're still doing some of it.
That's the global club, isn't it?
They
Like,
have to do.
That's their obligation.
That's almost like a hangover from the size of club
when
they
were
used
good,
to be.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's absolutely wild. It really is. I mean, it's astonishing that they're doing this. Really, really, really bad. And it should. I know it's funny, but if you're a Man United fan, this is the most damning stuff. It's not what's being dominated in the press. Isn't the fact that Man United are in a major European final. This stuff is being dominant.
Luke, I wouldn't put it past him if he's going to put ticket tariffs on the rest of the Premier League clubs.
Yeah, could do, couldn't
It
he?
also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
He doesn't know what that means. It's time for Jack's Encyclopedia. Jim is our new champion after beating Vish and Marcus last week.
I'm so disappointed in you, Marcus.
hoping for a better showing from Marcus this week.
He had 1 week in the chair.
Let everyone
Great week.
down.
It's a lovely week.
Yeah, what a week.
You are.
Yeah.
You're David Moyes who just followed Sir Alex Ferguson. Lasted 5 minutes.
Come on.
Now, mate,
He's going to be Palace winning the FA Cup final.
I think that might make Jim Louis Van Gaal, which I'm very happy with.
All right, let's get down to it. We're going to start with you, Marcus, if that's all right.
I really wanted to fight this title against you today, and I've been denied the opportunity.
Andy, you've got to ask yourself, why did I lose it last week?
What's worse, cheating or cheating friends?
Every team
Yep.
to feature in an FA Cup final since the year 2000. Every team to
Ooh, I like
feature
that.
in an FA Cup final since the year 2000. There are 18.
18 teams.
It's only 18. I'll have Manchester United.
You can have Manchester United.
Thanks.
Manchester City.
Correct.
I can't even read my own writing. What have I written there? I'll have Liverpool.
I'll have Arsenal.
I'll have Portsmouth.
Whoa.
Nice.
I would have taken them.
Nice.
Palace.
Chelsea.
Got to be.
Cardiff.
Ooh.
Nice.
Wow, well done.
I will go for, luckily for me, I will go for the aforementioned Hull.
Yeah.
Yep,
Aston
correct.
Villa.
Well done. Aston Villa in there.
That's Sherwood's Villa, wasn't it? Got pumped.
They got walloped by Arsenal.
Yeah.
Oh, I never felt this bad ever.
Since 2000. Southampton.
Lovely work.
Nice.
I wondered if
Nice.
I mention.
I'll go Arsenal. Cheers, Marcus.
Have we got enough?
You already said it.
Already said it.
Oh, you've only had-
Why didn't I write it down?
Why didn't you write it down? Oh, right.
I've got loads more as well.
You do,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a shame.
I'll have Leicester.
Nobody look at his notes.
I'll have Leicester City, please.
You can have Leicester City. Stopped them getting to the Champions League, didn't it?
Can I have Watford?
Oh, well played.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
I'll have West Ham.
You can have them as well. Only a few left. 3, in fact. 4.
I've got 2 of them as well. That's so annoying.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
Middlesbrough? No, it's just before 2000.
Just before 2000.
Would I have been right?
So Marcus gets the
So
point
Marcus
for
gets
that.
the
one.
point.
Yeah.
You get the point for that one, mate.
I've got Everton and Millwall.
Everton. Everton. Oh, Millwall. I forgot about Millwall. Everton were the one I had.
Everton, Millwall, you've got one left.
Who would that be?
Starting with W.
Oh, Watford.
No, we had Watford.
Not West Brom, surely.
Wigan.
Oh, Wigan. They won it. They bloody won it.
That's poor, that is.
Right.
Yeah, West Brom was the semi-final. Was Portsmouth.
Well done, Spelsy.
Yeah.
Round one
Yeah,
goes
Portsmouth
to
beat them in the
you. Now on to Andrew Brassel. The starting 11s from both teams in Crystal Palace versus Man United in the 2015-2016 FA Cup
Bloody
final.
hell.
The starting 11s from both teams in Palace Man United in the 2015-16 FA Cup final. 22 answers, obviously. Let's kick off for you, Andy.
Two pitfalls here.
A few pit bulls here.
Well,
It's a Friday.
There's only one. There's only one.
Can I take Joel Ward?
Surely.
Lovely.
Good. I had
like
him written
it.
down.
I like it.
Surely Wayne Rooney started.
Well, I don't know about that.
The list does.
Yeah, it's like who did he bring on? Who did he start? I'll go for Oh, this is so annoying. So many Man United players. I'm thinking, were they subs or were they?
Yeah.
Right. Juan Mata, he scored.
Got to be. He scored.
Go on,
He
score.
that
You're always
game,
going to
didn't he?
start steady one
couldn't
matter,
remember
aren't
if
you?
if he was a sub though.
Mm.
Around that time with Man United, it's like who started and who was not.
Could I have Romelu Lukaku?
Ooh, that might have been before he scored.
Oh, unlucky.
Unfortunately.
I see why you went for
Unlucky,
that.
Andy. Unlucky, Andy.
But it's tricky though, around that period.
yeah.
Lukey Moore.
I've got one of three, and two of them are massive gambles.
All right. Let's have the
Antonio Valencia, he seemed to play all the time.
Well
He did.
done.
Well done,
good.
Lukey. Congratulations.
Can I have
I went before Marcus, didn't I? So he needs to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony Martial?
Oh, did he start?
He did
he
start.
Well done, mate.
he was
Nice,
starting
like that
around
one.
time.
Okay, I'm going to go for. Oh God.
It's tough, mate. The amount of players they signed around there.
Damien Delaney
Ooh.
for Palace.
Fucking hell. Yes.
Decent.
Very
Well
nice, Luke. Very nice.
Mile Jedinak?
Good one.
Oh. Big old Jedinak.
Well done, well played. David De Gea.
Surely he started in goal.
Yep.
Um,
Love this rally.
he scored. I'm going to go for it. Jason Puncheon.
Oh, that is
I was
a
out.
shame.
I was out.
You were out, but then you rose again.
I got
well
it.
done. Well done, Lukey. So it's,
Who else could we have had?
There's a
You
few
could
there.
have had Chris Smalling, Connor Wickham, Deli Blind. You could have had James MacArthur, Marcus Rojo. You could have had
Rocco.
Rashi. Could have had Marcus Rashford.
Rashford,
Marouane
obviously.
Fellaini was still kicking a ball. Michael Carrick, of course. Suarez. You could have had Scott Dan, Wayne Hennessy, Wilfried
Hennessy.
Zaha, Balassi, and the most beautiful man in the universe, Johan Kabay.
Oh.
One
There we go.
apiece then. It's all to play
one
for.
apiece back in Andy. And
I'm
let's start
so
with
gutted
you,
with
Luke.
that FA Cup one. So I'm pleased I got back in the hat.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. The 23 players, Luke, with 7 or more assists in the Premier League this season. The 23 players
Seven
with
or more?
7 or more assists in the Premier League this season.
That's a bit random.
There are 23 of them, so plenty of things to talk about.
23 of them.
Mm.
I mean, I'm going to start off obvious and go Mo Salah.
You can have him, 18.
Well done, Luke
Well
Moore.
done, Luke Moore. Marcus?
Um,
My pen's running out. This is a conspiracy. Thank you, mate.
they've scored a lot of goals. Dan Kulusevski.
It's
a bad one.
That's a shame.
I'm out.
That's a shame.
Andy, I need you to get this round.
Freewheeling.
So don't
Oh,
let,
yeah. You
so
don't,
don't
get one
let
wrong.
me and the listeners down.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Got to be.
Kevin De Bruyne. He's got 7.
So annoying.
I think I read a feature recently. Had you a graphic feature on one of your favourite players, Peter, Mr. Jacob Murphy? I think he's got to be in there.
Second in the list. Number
Course
2,
he
Jacob Murphy
is.
with 12 assists.
Of course he is.
12.
12.
Declan Rice.
Decky. He's got to be in there. 7.
Well
That's
done,
Oh,
right.
he snuck in there, Andy.
Well done, Brassel.
Where did you find some form from?
He takes the corners. It's obvious.
All right. He's had a bit of a shit second half of the season, but I reckon Cole Palmer's got to be in there.
He's got 8.
Come on, Ant.
Correct. Yeah. Nice.
Come on, Anne, listen to it.
Like it. I like it.
Focus.
Marcus.
I'm out.
Oh, sorry. Andy.
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Oh, Andy, I don't know about that one. I don't know. It's a good shout. I think you just handed it to Luke there. Yeah.
Oh no, Luke Moore wins.
Oh, dear. Freewheeling Andy Brassel.
I think I've got a
handing
couple
over the
more if you're
strap.
interested. I'm pretty sure Anthony Elanga's in there.
He is. He's got 10.
And Brian Mbuemo, I seem to remember, has got a lot.
Brian Mbuemo's got 7 as well. Yeah, you could have had going from 7 to up to 10. You've got Martin Odegaard. You could have Ollie Watkins, Yuri Tillemans, Brian Mbuemo, James Madison, Enzo Fernandez,
I almost
Jared
went
Bowen,
Madison.
Madison was the one. Coolest. I
Nori,
thought
could have
surely a
had,
Spurs player would be in there.
Eberechi Eze, you could have a Savinho, Morgan Gibbs-White, Son Heung-min, Spurs scoring more goals than you kind of remember.
I want for Kulusevski in there.
Morgan Rogers, Bruno Fernandes, you could have had Fernandes rather, Bukayo Saka, Anthony Robinson, Anthony Langa, and Mikkel Damsgaard. Has also got 10 as well.
Kulusevski's got 4 Premier League assists.
Yeah,
this
it's
season.
so easy when you read the answers out.
Yeah.
So
Well, there we
easy,
are.
it is.
Thank you very much to everybody for listening to the Football Ramble.